right, brother. What's good with you, man?
Man, nothing much, man. How you been, bro?
Man, chilling, man. On my thing.
Man, y'all be getting it in, man. I really admire what y'all do. I actually had a interview with Lucario, man, about a few
Yeah.
weeks back,
All
and
right.
just seeing how y'all had actually shifted, the manosphere, man, and really got guys really thinking for themselves and being a lot more aware, man, and understanding what's going on out here rather than just being fixated on one thing, which is, particularly women, which we will be getting on. But for some of the listeners that don't know who Mr. K-Zag is, can you let some of the listeners know what's going on and who you are?
All right. So basically, I came to YouTube probably around the end of 2018, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And like many of the YouTube viewers or subscribers, I was just consuming content. To be honest with you, I wasn't even looking for no content that we talk about now. I was listening to music videos. That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
And your autoplay list, sometimes they recommend things. So, I came across O'Shea Duke Jackson and other individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I became aware of Steve the Dean, ARC, Alan Roger Curry, Lucario.
Yeah.
And I started watching their content. And I wasn't trying to learn anything. I was just watching it because it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to what those brothers were saying.
Right.
So it's kind of like like-minded dudes gravitate to like-minded dudes.
Right.
So as I'm watching, I'm putting my little comments in the comment section. I'm in the live chat commenting.
Right.
So O'Shea Duke Jackson, Lucario, amongst some other people, they said, man, you got a lot of stuff to say. Why don't you start a channel and we'll support you? Now, that's how it started. Now, but I didn't want to start a channel. I was like, nah, man, I'm going to leave that to y'all. I'm going to let y'all do. I'm just going to watch. I'm going to be able to fly on the wall. I might talk some shit in the comment section. But beyond that, that's all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But as I started commenting more and more, they became a little more like, come on, bro, we'll support you.
Yeah.
So I said, man, fine. So I jumped out there. Now, initially when I was doing it, it was just for recreational. I was just having fun with it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really taking it serious.
Yeah.
But then the more subscribers I started to build up, and I still got a small channel for the most part, but the more subscribers I started to build up, I found that a lot of guys were like, hey, man, we like what you're saying. Or you a dating coach? And I'm like, nah, I'm not a dating coach. I'm just a dude that talk crap on YouTube. I said, that's all I am.
Yeah, yeah.
But then, Steve the Deans of the world, the car that put me to the side and they said, you got to stop doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These guys are looking for you to provide a service. Since you're on YouTube, you might as well.
Yeah, might as well.
So I started taking it more serious, taking the content more serious, paying attention to the thumbnails, the titles, the commentary, and just being a little more responsible with the message. And here we are, man, 4 years later.
Man, that's big, Zag, because, we're so easy to kind of just, belittle ourselves and be like, nah, I'll give you advice, man, but that's as far as I go. But the more that you kept writing and people kept saying, like, okay, man, this man knows something. Like, I'm trying to get with him. And even though you were shoving people down in the process, Lucario and Steve and them were just like, hey, look, we need you to go ahead, man, because that takes the weight off of their shoulders as well. And you can cater and have your own audience, because I think people don't realize, man, there's billions of people on earth, right? Instead of you focusing on one area of interest, it's just like, man, put yourself out there and just see where it would go. And I really just commend you on that, man, because you don't see too many guys do that. I had a talk with one of my cousins a few years ago, and me and him was talking, and I said, you know what's crazy? I said, man, you would look at how some men carry themselves, man, and you'd be like, damn, then why nobody didn't tell me this back then? I could have avoided this situation. I could have avoided, getting my car towed. Different situations, man, outside of that, just life in general, to have you gamed up, man, and really help you progress, man. So one thing I did want to ask you, I was watching some of your videos because I came up on you a few years ago, and I was just like, man, you slick reminded me of some of the guys that had a lot to say, but they wouldn't say too much. They would let people actually learn for themselves because they didn't want to listen. My thing is, one of your videos, I want to ask you, why is it important to understand yourself before understanding others? Can you elaborate on that, Mr. Zag?
Yes. See, the mistake that a lot of guys make is when they're younger, they believe there's an order of things. Like, let me get a job, or let me go to college, and then after I do that, I'll meet a young lady, I'll start a family.
Yeah.
And my thing is, once upon a time, that might have been the model, but it don't work now. And the reason why it don't work now is for several reasons. One of the reasons is people don't mature as quick as they used to mature.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now, because of guys being able to stay home with their parents longer, and the parents ain't kicking them out and tell them, hey, go out there in the world and get yours. A lot of dudes, they have that safety net.
Yeah.
That safety net, and in a way, it kind of stunts your growth a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good because it helps you get your feet up under you. But at the same time, if you have a guy who's not very self-motivated, very ambitious, he's gonna, be too comfortable in that setting. So a lot of times when guys, they start dealing with women, and they don't know who they really are. So a lot of what they're hearing as far as how they should conduct themselves as men is spoon-fed to them by society, by the media, music, things of that nature, and also maybe their parents. Maybe they got a father that either wasn't there. If he was there, he's giving them information from the mindset of a simp. And sometimes your daddy is there, but he's a simp.
Yeah.
So what he's feeding you, it doesn't really do you justice to make sure you select the proper woman. Yeah. But this is why a lot of guys, they get into trouble and all that type of stuff. But a lot of times you have to drown out the noise of people trying to give you all these different advice and all that type of stuff, and say, what do I personally want? Regardless of what my parents say, regardless of what society says, what do I personally want? And is what I'm hearing what I want, or am I hearing something and I'm just moving in that way, believing that that's what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
Once you know yourself and you know who you are, now you know how you should move based on what you personally want for your life, regardless of what your parents say, regardless of what society says. And another mistake that guys make is very difficult to get to know yourself while you're trying to get to know somebody else. So an example would be, let's say you're 20, 21 years old in the military or maybe in college, and you move in with a young lady.
Yeah.
No guy who's 20, 21 really knows himself.
No.
Now, there may be some guys who are further along than others, more mature than others, but no guy truly, you're not really, you're a man, biologically, legally, and all of that, but you're not really a man here yet. You know what I'm saying? You're a young man, but you're not really there. You're not a mature
Not fully
man.
Mature. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of times what happens is guys, they get into these relationships and they thrust themselves into these relationships and they believe, I got to be a certain way for this woman. And they lose themselves. And because of that, they end up stunting their own growth as an individual. And now they're with this woman where they're still learning themselves, but they're also learning her.
Yeah. And that's very difficult. World of chaos. Speaking on that, Zag, you just said something that hit the head on the nail. So I can go back to like 10 years or years back then. Like, I'm 33 now, right? So I remember times being in that situation, being one of them guys where I so-called called myself dating somebody, being with somebody, but I didn't fully know myself. So I started having issues down the line. I started having different breakups, different heartbreaks, focusing on the wrong thing and not really focus on getting my shit together and understanding who I am as a man. So I can be that for me. And then if it comes down the line in the future, I can be for that person, for say, whatever the case may be. Like the crazy thing that happened to me one time, man, I remember this like it was yesterday. And I tell a lot of guys, man, do not go back to an ex, man. It's a bad idea, regardless of how good y'all might have ended up on terms, whatever, because it's not going to be the same, first off. Then secondly, man, you're actually just stunning your growth. You're pushing yourself back. And you're not really focused as what you could be. So then you're compromising more of your integrity. You're compromising your morals, your beliefs, all these things. And that goes back to when you end up having somebody that's a simp. And you're pretty much repeating a cycle, because I've seen it with relatives of mine, because one of my older cousins, he's way older than me.
Right.
We had a talk one time, Zag. We was on the phone. And me and him got the same birthday. And we were talking, and I was just like, how everything going, man? How you been? You know what I'm saying? He was like, I'm good, man. I just been the only one working in the house, man. My wife ain't working, her mom there, this and that. And as I'm hearing this, I'm like, bro, I didn't really ask all that, but it's just like, you don't want to put yourself in that position. I can't feel sorry for you. Our uncle told you what to do, but you didn't want to listen. You stand stern, which ain't it's nothing wrong with beliefs, you know what I mean? Knocking nobody had their own belief of religion, but my thing is, if you living by something and you not representing that, that's false prophets, man. And y'all spoke about that before.
And I'm glad you mentioned, once you end a relationship, you never look back. Okay. And what a lot of guys fail to understand is how that woman viewed you, whether it was months ago, years ago, she views you the same way that she viewed you then.
Yes.
So even if you mature, you grow, and you evolve into just a more well-rounded man and individual,
right?
She's not necessarily going to accept the new you because she remembers the old you.
Oh, you, yeah.
Whatever it was. This is why a lot of guys, they think, oh, back then I was kind of lame, I was kind of goofy. Now you can go lift weights, you can get your money up, and you might be more appealing in that regard, but in her mind, you're still the same guy that you were. So if she thought you were a little goofy, a little corny, maybe you weren't really gamed up or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
She's still going to look at you as that guy. And what a lot of guys don't understand is it's hard to break that mindset of how people view, which is why it's important that when the relationship ends, you just move forward.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong with if you run into the young lady later on and y'all are still cool, like you said, it's an amicable situation. It wasn't no volatile nonsense, but you have to remember, and not only that, you will look at her as the same way. Okay. And this is the mistake. This is how you know people look at you in the same way. Because a lot of times when you try to get back with an ex, you try to pick up exactly where you left off.
Bad idea.
It's a horrible idea. You have to, now it's a bad idea to get back with your ex, but let's say, hypothetically speaking, you did. You have to literally relearn each other from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? You have to literally date that person like they're new. But it's hard to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That takes a lot of energy, Zag. And you know, that, man, it's just like when I seen that, man, and I was just trying to, you know, speak to my cousin, speak life into him, and I was telling him, like, man, you can still take care of your older kids, man, and still thrive. And you haven't had a chance to find you what it is. He's been so conditioned being in a small town and having that belief from what his mom installed in him. My auntie got, you know what I'm saying, blessed him. Like, we speak every other day, but like I was telling his mom, I was like, you know, the thing is, I said, he ain't never had a chance to know himself. So he's holding on to the fact of him not even having a chance. A lot of guys hold on to that fact of not having a family, not they dad wasn't there, this and that. And you don't have to represent that in that same light. But I also know at the end of the day, you're your own man.
See, brother, I have a friend that I went to high school with. We've been friends for a long, long, long time. He made that mistake. He grew up in a household initially with his parents. His father got caught cheating on his mama. That traumatized him because she actually, hold on, I got a cough, bro.
Go ahead. You cool.
He actually saw the woman that his father was creeping with, right? He actually saw stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it bothered him. So when his mother realized that her husband was creeping, they divorced. So he ended up going through his high school years, teenage years without his father in the household. So he joined the military and he got married at a very young age, like 20, 21. And what he tried to do was, I'm going to be better than my father. I'm going to keep my family together. I'm going to have a family. So first wife, cheating on him.
Right? Military, that.
The military. Let me tell y'all something. You know what it reminds me of? It's kind of like these young rappers or these NFL dudes, these rookies and on these sports teams.
Yeah.
Get in a serious relationship that young, bro, don't do it.
No.
Because I very rarely see them work out. You know what I'm saying? LeBron James might be the exception. But all these other people, it very rarely works out because you're so young. You got the money, women coming at you left and right.
Yeah.
Of course, most dudes is going to indulge in that.
Yeah.
So if you're not ready to be a family man, most guys think they're ready.
Yeah.
Until real life situation starts to hit them. See, it's easy if no women are coming at you.
Yeah.
But when women start coming at you and throwing it at you, and these are women that you are attracted to, it's hard for most guys to turn that down.
Yeah. So they never had it like that either. You know what I'm saying?
It's tempting. And as a young man, most dudes are going to indulge in that. Now with the military, it's the worst situation to have a family or a woman in because you're always being deployed. You're always over here. And one thing that young women can't not go without is attention, male attention.
Yeah.
And male attention leads to other things. You know what I'm saying? So he got cheated on with the first wife, and he got married. He repeated the same formula, got married again, cheated on again, got divorced. You know what I'm saying? Now, luckily, he didn't give the second wife kids. He only gave the first wife kids. Okay. But he went through hell with that because he was trying to basically say, oh, I'm going to be a better father than my father was. And like your cousin, He wanted that family structure because he didn't have that. And my thing is, but you don't know what you're doing though. Now, you know what you want to do, you know what you would like to see, but you don't know how to go about doing it in a way that actually works for you.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
You know, and that's the biggest thing to me, Zach. Like, for example, like I remember telling some of the guys that I've interviewed, I was just like, you know, I've been monogamous, but I'm currently monogamous right now, but I have a situation that's working for me. You know what I mean? I got things that are being done just due to me being very consistent, because I realized over the years there were certain areas that I wasn't consistent in, and I was getting certain results. So I couldn't blame, you know what I'm saying, my lady or whoever the current lady was. But once I realized that, like, for example, one time when me and my lady had a disagreement, we were just talking. I was thinking like, damn, back then in the past, I remember just hiking in my voice, getting mad. I'm getting the same thing in return. I'm wondering why I'm getting that. And it's just like, it starts with you, man. It really starts with you. And going back to what you said too, Zach, about them guys being in these athletic professions, man, and being professional, whether it's MLB, NFL, no matter what it is,
right?
You need people like yourself, you know what I mean, to guide them. But they be feeling like they ego and everything, and they pride. They feel like they don't need it because they like, oh man, I know everything, bro. I got this right here. And
they got it all figured out.
Mess up on the back end and be wondering why, well, everything happened how it did. That's
my bad. I ain't meant to interrupt.
No, you good. You good. Go ahead.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said you're in a monogamous relationship right now, but you were previously non-monogamous. See, that's that choice. Like, I'm gonna pick and choose what I'm gonna be. Right. The problem with a lot of guys, they get into these monogamy-oriented relationships where they're obligated.
Yeah.
Meaning, if because you might not want it, but because the woman wants it, and that's the only way she'll agree to be with you, you just do it.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it might be okay. You might be all right. But what happens is, once the dust settles and you know, people start to, you know, reveal a little bit more about themselves, you might feel like, man, you know, it was cool in the beginning when things were all lovely, but now I don't know, man. You know, I'm getting tired of her a little bit, and the sex is getting a little boring, and I kind of miss being out there. So you start to have them regress, and it leads you know, to you doing things that just cause more of an issue in your situation. So even with that, I think guys should know, do I want to be monogamous, or am I doing it because she wants me to be? You know what I'm saying? And now there's two things can be true at the same time. You could want to be monogamous, like, I really want to do this, not because she wants me to, but because I want to, and she happens to want you to as well. And that can work simply because that's what you want above her, above whatever she wants. You want that, so you don't mind giving it to her because that's what you want to give to her, not because she's asking you for it. And I think guys just need to be careful and be mindful of, be careful what type of relationship you choose. Is it in alignment with your personal beliefs? Is it something that you feel you can achieve? Because you're talking about, you know, consistency. You have to consistently, whatever you presented to that young lady in the very beginning, you have to consistently be that guy. Because the moment you show inconsistency, and it's like what you said earlier, when you find yourself getting mad at the babe and you're yelling, cursing or whatever, and she's giving it back to you, a lot of that happens because in the beginning, you weren't that guy.
No.
So what a lot of guys fail to understand, whether it's the beginning of the relationship, the middle, or towards the end, the woman is always following your lead. Always following your lead. So if you come out the gate, calm, cool, collected guy, even when you get upset, you still calm, cool, and collected. It's very rarely you're going to get a woman who just starts wilding. As long as you maintain that consistency with your temperament.
You got it. It's all mental. Let me ask you this. I remember something else too, one of your other videos. I was watching your content. I seen a title that was saying, stop trying to change women, change how you select women. That goes back to what you just said, actually knowing yourself, what you like and what you don't like. Can you explain that video? How did that video come about?
Well, the mistake that a lot of guys make is they'll meet a woman and there'll be certain attributes about her, certain character traits that they like, that they feel like, okay, if I ever explore the possibility of a relationship, I like these things, but there's other things that I don't like. So they never really address those things when they're dating. But then they get into a relationship. Now they feel like, now that I have the boyfriend title, she has the girlfriend title. Now, because she's my girlfriend, she got to listen to me. and I should be able to have influence over her now. So now I'm going to go about trying to change the things that I don't like. So an example would be if your woman dresses a certain way that initially attracted you to her, but now that you're thinking about a relationship, you're like, man, she's ever my girl. She can't dress like that no more. Yeah. So my thing is, if you got a problem with it, don't make her your girl until she changes that. But guys, they make the girl their girl, and they try to go about changing her, even with the social media. If you got a problem with the chick being on social media twerking, don't make her your girl while she's doing that. You know what I'm saying? But they get into the relationship, I don't like the fact that you're on social media, can you get off? And what happens is, even if the woman agrees, it's going to be reluctantly so. So what happens is, because things are good, she might be like, all right, but it's going to be, you might get pushback because there's going to be some reluctance to it. So what happens is as the relationship goes on and y'all guys start to have some problems, now she's going to have animosity and resentment towards you because she feels like you made me do something I didn't really want to do. And because I'm mad at you for this reason or that reason, now I have regrets listening to you. So now you arguing with this chick. And what happens is when someone stops doing something that they really don't want to stop doing, but they would rather do it again, they start to sneak.
Yeah. It becomes a habit. It was something they was already doing. So they've been accustomed to doing it. So every chance they get, it's kind of like having this in your hand the whole time. If I tell you not to mess with it, they see that you're not comfortable with it. Every chance they get when you're not around, they going 24/7, man.
And this is why, like I had an ex, right? When we first started dating, we weren't serious at the time, but she had some male friends, and I had no problem with it because we weren't serious. I don't really do the male friend joint.
Yeah.
But we got into a conversation. She asked me that I had some female friends, and I said, well, I don't really have no female friends, but I have females that I'm cool with.
Yeah.
But these are females that I'm not trying to knock. Okay. Although I knew that some of them were feeling me, but I wasn't feeling them, so nothing was going to jump off regardless.
Yeah.
So we got to talking about that and the prospect of us being in a relationship and how that would work. I said, look, you can keep your male friends. I'm not trying to tell you not to keep your male friends. But me personally, I said, I don't do the male friend joint. And I said, let me just give you a scenario. I said, if you have dudes you was cool with since high school, whatever, they know your family or, whatever, if you know their girlfriends, that's all well and good. But I gave her a scenario. I said, let me give you a scenario. I said, so let's say, because the woman I was dealing with, she wasn't from San Antonio. So she says, what if my male friend visits? And I'm like, you mean visit by himself or visit with his girl, right? And she was like, no, visit, by himself. And I'm like, number one, he can't stay here. I said, that's number one. That's number one. I said, number two, it ain't gonna be no situation where such and such is in town, we're gonna go out for a bite to eat. I'm like, that ain't gonna happen. So I said, it ain't gonna be no situation where you and this male friend have dealings with each other where y'all are physically hanging out. They're like, it ain't gonna be like that. You know what I'm saying? So I said, now, we don't ever have to get into a relationship. I'm just letting you know that I personally don't roll like that. So you can keep your male friends and we can just do what we're doing, but it ain't gonna be no situation where dudes are showing up to the house. I don't know them. I'll come home one day from work and dudes sitting on the couch and y'all vibe. No. So months later, she came to me and she was talking about, being in a relationship. And she, of her own volition, basically said, hey, I remember that you talked to me about XYZ. That will never be an issue. And I'm like, all right. So we continue dating.
Free will. You gave her free will, K-Zag. And see, this ties into another question I was going to ask you about the dangers of making sex so important. Because when you get fixated on just the physical things, man, you lose sight, you lose vision of leadership, man. You don't know how to set boundaries. None of this stuff. And a lot of times, man, a lot of chicks have been with guys, that never did think about boundaries or set boundaries to where they could respect that and have a better understanding on how they can set boundaries themselves. And it makes things a lot more organic and healthy.
Well, and that's the thing with sex. Sex is a wonderful thing. We all enjoy sex, but at the same time, you have to have balance in your relationship. Sex, if you're just casually dating and you're not being serious, sex can be the most important thing to you. But if you're in a relationship, sex cannot be number one.
Yeah.
It can be in your top 3, your top 5. Hold on, bro. But if it's number one, your relationship won't last. There has to be a deeper connection you have with the woman. There has to be some balance and there has to be some goal setting. Like, okay, we're in this relationship, but are we just in a relationship just to be in one? or are we trying to ascend? Because as an individual, I'm trying to ascend. I would hope that as an individual, you're trying to ascend. So as a couple, not only should we be doing our things individually, but we should come together as a unit and make sure that we're on the same page and we're constantly not only ascending as individuals, but as a team. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people lose sight of that, and they just get into these relationships and they don't really think about the future. Okay, how do I want us to evolve as a couple a year from now, 5 years from now? Okay, where do I want to be as an individual? Where do I want her to be? Because her having success is important to our success, just like me having success is important to our success. And a lot of people, they just get into these relationships, and a lot of it is just, I'm lonely. I want some companionship. Or they want some in-house ass. They just want a chick they can have sex with all the time. And my thing is, the worst mistake you can make is cuffing a chick just so you can have access to sex on a regular basis. Because now you're making a decision like a woman does, meaning you're governed by your emotions and your feelings, and you're mainly motivated to get into a relationship or even cohabitate with a woman based on something as shallow and superficial as sex. Horrible mistake.
That's why domestic, you know what, that's wild too. And that's why I think a lot of domestic violence be happening too, because we, man, this is crazy, Zach. One night we were asleep, and I was walking into the kitchen to go grab something. And so I go back into the room and I hear like a boom. And I was like, can't nobody be moving stuff at no 11 p.m. at night. You know what I mean? The neighbors, we got somebody under us, and I hear their kids at the time when they were staying here. One time, I kid you not, Zach, I remember dude had slammed up against the wall, man. You could hear him screaming and stuff. And I was just like, man.
Wow, that's crazy.
Dude couldn't even control his emotions. And I said, man, ain't no telling why dude got like that. And that made me think like, damn, imagine if we was trying to have like a gathering or something, or a little function at night. You can't even do that, because then you got authorities coming inside the unit. They got stuff going on and they hear music. They trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, man, this ain't it. I said, man, you got to be able to avoid stuff like that, man, because cats get so lonely, man, and I see it too often, and they don't know themselves, man. I done been in the gym and seen it. Some cats not even enough to work out. You done seen them before yourself. They just scouting, just looking. Can't even get into their routine. Can't even really focus on their objective of why they can't in the gym.
That's facts. And a lot of times what happens is, the reason why that domestic stuff happens is because they realize outside of the superficial, shallow stuff, they really don't like that chick like that.
Yes.
They really don't like her. So a lot of times, especially when you have like a kid or kids with them, you almost feel stuck.
Yeah.
This is what guys worried about. You know, I was young. I was 22 when I started having kids. So a lot of guys, what they're worried about is, I don't want no other man around my kids, but you can't, nothing you can do about that. You know what I'm saying? If the relationship fails, it's going to happen.
That's what it is, yeah.
So now you just got to hope you chose the right chick where she got some sense, right? So you have that going on. Also, you have guys that are worried about child support. They're worried about child visitation. So a lot of times the fear of those things keep guys hanging around with these women longer than they should. So what happens? The resentment starts to grow, the animosity. They start arguing in front of the kids. Yeah. They start, bad-mouthing each other, calling each other out each other's name. And then a woman, she's being disrespectful because the dude is being disrespectful. So then, of course, she might, call him a B or something like that. So he probably slamming her against the wall. Or maybe she mad, don't want to let him have sex. And he feels some type of way, like, you my woman. But so who knows why they was fighting? Man. But a lot of times that you lost control. Once you get to that point, you lost control. You no longer have influence over the woman. So because you no longer have influence over her mentally, where you can just tell her some stuff and she listens, the next step, let me get physical. Let me make her do it with force. And that's
the worst way. And then you talk about, you might end up putting yourself, some child protective, services coming, you know what I mean? You possibly facing, jail or prison time, all kind of stuff, because cats got to be careful with that. Because years ago myself, man, I remember dating a chick, and then I thought at the time that I had a daughter at one point, sir, and she wasn't even mine. Wow. But what I learned from that whole situation years ago, man, with me being able to think and be logical about what was going on, I was able to be like, you know what? Let me just play it like this. I see what's going on. My eyes are open. I was ignoring signs that I shouldn't have ignored. I seen it. Let me go ahead and play this accordingly, man. I strategically planned everything out, from just getting a lawyer to really just stay in my case, getting the test done, all this stuff. And luckily, by the grace of God, bro, man, I was able to get up out of that, man. The judge waived that. My name was off the birth certificate, all that stuff. That's a crazy story. That's something that I plan on putting into my next book here real soon. Guys need to hear, man.
See, a lot of guys, they're so emotionally attached to the woman, they don't think that pragmatic. You know what I'm saying? They're not very strategic in how they move. Because one thing about women, once a woman reaches her I'm done point, a lot of women, they have an exit strategy already in place. Like this one woman I was in a relationship with, she was married.
Yeah.
And her husband started to physically abuse her. So what she did was she acted like everything was cool. So they lived in a house, you know, with a basement. So what she did was she told him, hey, I want some new furniture. It's about time we redecorate the house. So what she did was she had him put all the new furniture in the basement. And then one day when he went to work, she had movers show up, move all the new furniture out to her new crib she already found. And of course, this is how strategic women are. They have an extra strategy. And this is another thing, like when guys pay all the bills, if you are a provider and you can actually take care of your house, do that. I would recommend that you go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
But be mindful that some women who mean you no good, they saving their money. They got an extra strategy, but because you putting all your money into it, you're not, because a lot of guys, they're not emotionally, mentally, or financially prepared for a woman to just exit their life, especially if you're married and or if you have kids, because now there's legalities surrounding that. Now, depending on where you live at, you got to be worried about child support, the alimony, you got to go get a lawyer. And lawyers start off, I don't know about anywhere else, but in Texas, you're talking about $4,000 or $5,000 just for basic lawyers. Now, if there's some stuff, like if the woman files first and there's stuff in a divorce decree that you disagree with, okay, now you got to fight that and basically challenge it. So now it's going to cost more money. You can end up paying anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 just for a lawyer. And like I know, most guys don't have that money just lying around.
Right.
So now you got to go get a credit card, you got to go get a loan, you got to go hit somebody up. And now you're in a financial predicament and you're not prepared for what's going to come next. Because you're still going to get hit up for child support. That ain't even come yet.
Fees after fees, man. They ain't
even fees. They're going to make you pay all of that. They're going to make the man pay that.
Damn it, boy.
Guys don't think about that.
Nah, they don't, Zach. They don't, Zach. Let me ask you this. One more other thing. I seen you talking about how your subconscious mind controls your behaviors. Speak on that. Speak on that real briefly for the listeners that don't know.
For guys who don't know, your subconscious is about 95% of who you are. The way that you think, your belief system, all of that. So all of your fears, your concerns, things that you do without really thinking about it, all that stuff is in your subconscious mind. You know what I'm saying? So an example would be, you grow up with both your parents in a household. And all your neighbors, everyone has two-parent households, people are married. So already in your subconscious, you're conditioning yourself to believe, without people even telling you, this is the natural order of things. This is the way it should be, just based on what you're seeing. This is why a lot of guys, they feel like they're not a man until they have a family and they can take care of a family, because this is what they see their father doing, their uncles doing, their grandfather doing, their neighbors doing, their best friend, daddy is doing it. So they grow up and they not only are they conditioned by what they see, they're self-conditioning themselves because they believe it's the natural order of things. Right. So an example would be a guy who's married and he stays too long. So in his mind, he's already conditioned himself. This is how it's supposed to be. So everything that he does is based on his subconscious. So even if he has the conscious thought of, this is not really a good situation for me, I should leave it, his subconscious is going to betray him. It's going to betray him all the time. So I'll use another example of guys who have approach anxiety, or they have a fear of rejection. Like their subconscious mind, because they maybe listen to dudes on social media platforms who have fear-mongering advice, you know what I'm saying, what I think is horrible advice, don't approach women, that type of nonsense, right? So what ends up happening is they already have fear because of previous rejections, or just hearing people talk about what happened with them with being rejected. So they already have this fear in their subconscious. So even when they say consciously, I'm going to go approach that girl and talk to her. I'm tired of being scared. So what happens is they'll go up consciously, they want to do it. So they'll start talking to her. And then what happens is when it comes time to actually verbalize what it is they want, and they're trying to close the deal or make something happen, that fear comes in. And this is what leads to like the passiveness, the indirect behavior where guys are afraid to say what they really want because they're betrayed by their subconscious fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of offending a woman. All of that stuff is in your subconscious. It's already there.
Yeah.
So even though you tell yourself consciously, I want to tell her what I want to tell her that I want to have sex, or whatever the case may be, whatever it is you want to do. Because even with just offering a date, there are guys who can't even have a conversation with a woman when they very first meet her, just to do something as simple. Hey, I want to take you out sometime. How about I get your number and we can make that happen? Just a date. They can't even do that. You know what I'm saying? So they'll have a conversation with a young lady about nothing for 20, 30 minutes. They'll get her number, and then they'll call her, have another conversation about nothing for 20, 30 minutes. And then they'll text her later, hey, I've been thinking maybe we should go out. Because the whole time they're trying to build.
You'll be looking like, why you didn't do that shit in front of me, man? Beating around the bush, man.
Beating around the bush. And what they don't understand is that women are paying attention to that, and you look scary. But your subconscious mind is you're so scared to just be honest about what it is you want. What you're doing is you're taking cues from the woman. Like you're listening to what she's saying, like, I don't know if it's the right time to say it.
Yeah.
I think she's in a good mood. I think she's leaning towards, liking me. Okay, all right. This is the right time. Yeah. And you just waste a lot of time.
I love how you broke that down, man. I know we got about 3 minutes, but let me ask you this. So where can the listeners find your services and your content online? Where can they find K-Zag at?
Well, on IG, they can at me at KZagin20, KZAGGIN20 numerical. Also on TikTok, same thing. On YouTube, they can just search for me, K-Zagin20. You'll find a YouTube channel, boom, and there's over 1,000 videos there. So whatever it is you're going through, I'm sure you can find something that's relatable to whatever situation you've experienced, you're currently experiencing, or you will experience later.
Yeah. You know what? I'm subscribed to your channel too, because I be telling guys, man, I'll be like, man, I don't know what y'all dealing with, but look, I can send y'all in whatever direction you want to go in. The rest is pretty much up to you, as far as what you want to do. Do you have any like any shirts or stuff that's branded or anything that you're selling? Like
I do. Teesprings. If you go to Teesprings, also it's going to be K-Zagin20 Teesprings. I do got some joints that are out there. I'm going to rebrand the whole line, but there is some stuff that's out there. That's some of the older stuff I first did. Yeah. But now that I'm a little more, going to the entrepreneurial side of things, I have a whole different mindset. So I do got to go back in there and rebrand some stuff. But there's some older stuff out there that guys can go take a look at. T-shirts, hoodies, things of that nature.
K-Zag, you dropped a lot of gems in this interview in this short time. And I really do appreciate you actually coming on the Queasy Low Speaks podcast, man. It's been a pleasure, brother. And hopefully we'll be able to actually do this again, man. I'll be seeing y'all on live from time to time. So like I told AV and everybody else, y'all ever got something going on, or just a quick, brief discussion, you know what I mean? A panel discussion or something on live on IG as well. I'm down for it, man. So
and that's another thing,
y'all, man.
I appreciate that. You got a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I got a YouTube channel.
Man, why don't you shoot that to me in the gram, the messenger, so I can go check you out, man, and plug your joint. And maybe when I do one of my live joints, I can have you hop on there if you don't mind.
I'm with it, man. I'm gonna be sure to send that to you on the back end, K-Zag, man. And again, man, I really appreciate your time, brother.
All right, brother.
We got everything situated, man. It was funny.
We straight.
I was like, Zach was like, yo, what the fuck? This boy ain't popping up. I had to look at my phone. I told my lady, I said, man, this guy ain't even showing up. But we got it situated.